with the 2022 film 2025, The World Enslaved by a Virus. You pretty much learn everything about the movie from the title alone. It's overly long, cringe-inducingly awkward, and if one is even capable of remembering it, the only distinguishing factor is that it's exceptionally bad. But as a faith-based film about a world where COVID restrictions have somehow led to Christianity being outlawed, the writer and director of 2025 have managed to provide many people with the story that affirms certain core spiritual beliefs. Specifically, that anti-mask and anti-vax religious fanatics really are that self-righteous and unintelligent. This is an American film that had to be shot in Germany because of the estimated $10,000 budget, and it's not only a holy spectacle of bad filmmaking, but it's also a great example of how poorly executed propaganda pieces look almost exactly like Saturday Night Live parodies that simply refuse to end. So, get ready for a film that fails to fully explain its political point, was released to the public almost a full year after it even had a chance of successfully fear-mongering, and most importantly, gets packed minute to minute with completely oblivious acting choices, a mind-boggling display of dreadful screenwriting, and some hyper-lazy cinematography that will leave you wondering, wait, so are the very cameras this was shot on also dying of COVID? Come to terms with the dark-sided dystopia of religious persecution that we somehow narrowly avoided in real life despite having high vaccination levels, for a futuristic world enslaved by a virus installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello television viewers, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web, and we break it down, like the steps that it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop by looking at each individual clip and deciding whether it's a 1, a 2, or a 3. Mr. Owl. I am nonsensical today because this movie was actually like a breeze to review, simply because you can only talk about how there are long montages with easily licensed vocal musical tracks before it's just like, okay, yeah. And then eventually she marries her sister-in-law and like they both run away to the big fair at the end. We've seen the movie. Especially with faith-based films, which I didn't even know, or I guess I forgot. I thought maybe it was like a political film because the guy on the cover is holding a mask over his face. Turns out in this movie, that's like basically the main character, like the dad. I'm gonna tell you all about it, but first make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more clip breakdowns on movies from the past like this. But most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you want to make sure you get updates and notifications every time I upload a video. Is it inconsistent, the schedule? I wouldn't know. I don't check Reddit because that's too much info. The point is, I also have merch and a Patreon. You can continue worshiping me in every aspect of your life. That's all I ask. That's a joke. But what's not a joke is any part of this movie. It is being so earnest in every single step of its like Orwellian future, or maybe like a Blade Runner type of feel with the kind of saturated colors. You tell me what you think from the very get-go. That prologue was very troubling to sit through, mostly because I don't have my readers on, but once my granddaughter told me what the word said, I had to agree. Mask mandates during the height of COVID have put us on a accelerated 5-year track towards communism. And if you're a Christian, communism is pretty much the scariest word you'll ever not fully understand. You know what else is communist? North Korea and its nuclear bombs. Ever hear of Cuba and its unhealthy cigars? Or how about China and all of its Chinese people? I'm not always sure what we're supposed to fear with communism, I'll be honest. Thanks to our unaffordable healthcare rates and for-profit prison system, you're a grand old flag, buy your own body bag and be buried in a shallow grave. When push comes to shove, we can eat the doves that we race to release at parades. No, but seriously, I knew this movie was going to be a mess from the minute those title cards came on the screen. And not just because they glossed over the 5-year rise of a new world order using literal black and white exposition. I was more troubled by how poorly translated even the most basic English statements were coming off. The virus changed everything. Communism is all over the place. Mama, the timeline of this whole movie is all over the place. They just texted us the most interesting action probably in the whole storyline, yet go on to serve many mindless montages where the main characters walk down more desolate German streets than a human traffic exchange student. I gotta say though, this intro did make it shockingly clear how the events of 2020, you know, when scientific communities made informed recommendations on how to stop the spread of a novel virus and save thousands of lives, is almost completely identical to what the Nazi Party did in World War II. In fact, I'm reminded of an eerily similar quote from the prominent German pastor, Martin Niemöller. First, they came for the meetings, and I did not speak out. Because we just switched to having Zoom meetings, and honestly, none of my coworkers physically wanted to be near me in the office anyway. Then they came for the traveling, and I did not speak out because I could still pretty much travel freely. I just had to be willing to verbally berate the flight staff when they required me to wear a piece of soft cotton fabric over my mouth. And then they came for Christianity, and there was nobody left to speak out for me because all of my friends and family alienated themselves from me as soon as I started echoing the truthfulness of Fox News. And just like that, communism is all over the place. The Diaries, the Princess Diaries of Sex and the City. So let's get in. That was the textual prologue. Now let's get into the chronological prologue. They're chasing this car. Jeep is the police, other car is the other car. It's not a high budget film, I told you that much. In a world where police lights are just special effects Snapchat filters and police cars are just regular cars, be prepared for the most disjointed and poorly edited slow speed chase you've ever watched a guy wearing European dad pants walk away from unharmed. It would have obviously been obvious already that this sequence didn't have the storyboarding ahead of time or the camera coverage on set required to give this audience a proper sense of space and time with the car chase. But then the filmmakers drew even more attention to their incompetence by tossing in those cross-zoom transition effects, which were invented to help make sure that car commercials still felt visually interesting, while some voiceover talks about the zero-interest financing options available to well-qualified buyers. Anyway, they pulled that guy, I like to call him Ted Bundy in my head, but he's not. He's just some, I guess, churchy dude. We'll get into it. This is a flashback to a flash forward. As I mentioned, this movie is shot in Germany. A lot of, I would say, fresh-faced, new, less experienced Eastern European acting talent.
It's high treason on those books.
They are from a time when life was different. The time when we could meet our friends, go to restaurants, celebrate whatever and whenever we wanted to.
But then we were like told to temporarily stop. For what? Carelessly spreading a novel virus that we had no known treatment for at the time? That was just the first step, because then they took everything away from us. Taylor Swift concerts, flying our drone cameras over empty wedding venues, other Taylor Swift concerts, or dining outside with our favorite cult leader as he slowly tortures a cake using a knife. We were free once. This stock footage flashback is actually one of those instances where the movie is getting better thanks to me making fun of it. I'm not afraid to say. I re-edited that clip we just saw so that the dialogue was overlaying the clips, but then when they used this in the actual film, we hear Father Good Guy Prison Glasses give his spiel. Then we got an entirely separate slideshow of the repetitive, uncreative things that COVID restrictions permanently took away from us and completely ruined forever, until they started up again just a few months later, completely unchanged. I feel like if you were to string together clips of all of your favorite kinds of social situations and the resulting video looks sort of like a recruiting propaganda piece for an essential oil pyramid scheme, that's a very good sign that you're basic. He's like, didn't you love going to things? They talk about 5 years ago. This is 2025 and COVID happened in 2020. So they're like, you don't remember the days. He's like, you mean back when I was 23?
The time when life was worth living. A world full of peace, love, and ice cream. Do you just remember the best ice cream in the world?
Wait, did ice cream die of COVID? No, there was no title about that globalized dystopia. This is really hard to process right now. Say what you will about this movie's issues with everything from production to plot, but you cannot say shit in either English or German about these performances.
Peace, love, and ice cream.
Peace, love, and ice cream. Fun fact, that line was actually improvised off of the souvenir t-shirt I had recently bought at a tour of the Ben & Jerry's factory in Vermont. Now we go over to the flashback of just a few months earlier, maybe 2 years earlier, doesn't matter, earlier than that arrest. And that glasses gentleman who we just saw, whose name is Roy. I don't think I call him the right name in my life. Roy is basically like, I have a German book of laws that no longer is valid, and I crossed off each one as they were taken away from us during this 5-year rule of terror. And that's how his involvement came to be. We flash over to his sister and him, as well as some friend of theirs. His name is Luke. They give us all the exposition we need to know about why they've been in hiding in this blue and orange Halloween town apartment for apparently the last 5 years, since the day coronavirus broke out.
I don't know what to believe in anymore.
What does that mean? I mean, what's your point? What's your plan?
See, when I sleep, I can't sleep anymore. I got these anxiety attacks. I thought maybe I want this to end.
We all want this to end, Luke House, but unfortunately we're only 10 minutes into the first act of this and I have yet to hear one line that isn't delivered as though it's being translated from an English script to German thoughts back to English words real time in each of the actors' heads. See, this is why I didn't want to make our script study night a pizza party. Hannah surprised us with that coupon for 2 free lava cakes and no one memorized a single line from that point on. I love the conversations in this movie from the very first one. It's like Hannah, the sister, being like, who's saying all of this? I mean, you are saying it, Luke. Right now, you just said it, but like, what if I also predicted that you were going to say it later? What is your point? What is your plan? I bet that's what you're saying next. And the brother's like, yes, you have correctly guessed my plan, which I dreamed up in my sleep. But also I can't sleep because of the headaches, because of stressing that I'm always have. I'm just so scared of the police ever since Bananaramavirus 19 of Amadana. Yes, brother, but that's why we hung these lights on the wall of Christmas, so soothing. Like, it's really that off-putting. You're like, who programmed these robots to make a movie about Christianity? I'm obviously kidding. I realize that this movie was made on a shoestring budget in another country. Likely because like $10,000 is gonna go so much further in Russia if you're shooting a movie like this. Nothing custom to build, and you just need to hire like some really reliable film crew. Like, I hear in certain states in America, you can hire film production workers for 30 cents on the dollar. That means instead of hiring a certain crew member who would normally in the US ask for $70,000 as a salary, 30 cents on the dollar means like $14,000. So if you have no money, you can basically hire people for hundreds of dollars rather than thousands to shoot a movie like this and still get relatively good looking imagery, right? Like, they look well lit, there's dramatic lighting, it's definitely stylized. One article clearly pointed out the references to Blade Runner, which I didn't get because I was just like, no way does this remind me of Blade Runner. Maybe that's supposed to be why they have robotic performances. That's giving a really big benefit of the doubt though, based on the fact that none of these actors even have pictures in their IMDb profiles. Not that that's the tell-all, but I mean, where's your work? Anyway, this guy, Roy, and his sister, they're sick of this. One friend ran away because the friend before that, off screen or before the movie starts, was arrested and known to be tortured and killed. So they gotta get out of there.
Those Christians, they did not give up. It was illegal and they met secretly.
And they used the fish symbol to find allies.
That's right. Remember they drew that one line and then the other person drew the other line.
Yes.
If we find more Christians and we will found a lot of underground churches, think we could really change something.
Yeah, you really should change something. I would suggest starting with the inflection of your voice. Roy, this is the light bulb moment where you become inspired to start a Christian revolution. They're all hiding because they're Christians, by the way. And that's illegal, as we saw in the titles. So why is he talking about this huge revelation as though it has the same emotional weight as when his brother in Christ got kidnapped and tortured by the police? He talks the same way in both cases, but one doesn't include that headache face of personal loss.
Arrested, tortured, and killed.
It hurts when they're killed. As we heard, both Hannah and Roy start talking, these are the brother and sister, start talking about how in the Bible it was at one point illegal to be Christian or to follow Christ, and so people would draw one half of the Jesus fish on a cave wall, I assume, with their human blood, and the other person would come and finish it, and that would somehow signify like, okay, we gotta meet at Starbucks at Tuesday at 3 p.m. so we miss rush hour traffic hitting the road to Vegas. It was that, very much that.
Let's try it. As I said, I won't give up this fight. And also, this is not our fight. God will fight for us, and I'm sure that we find people who will fight with us.
That's me after I just got told the first rule of Fight Club. Also, what the hell, sis? Jesus was literally so against fighting, and you just used fighting more than any other word in that sentence. So I don't know, maybe let's take a deep breath before we speak and gather our thoughts. Cynthia Strudel, how about that, Cynthia? She said, I won't give up our fight, and also it's not our fight, and also it's God's fight. And we'll make sure the whole world is fighting for us. Because I, as previously stated, have got to fight, dun dun, for the right, dun dun, to party. So the crew, the man and woman, as well as the kind of army soldier guy who, oh, let me not get ahead of myself. The brother and sister, dot dot dot, go out to spray paint halves of fish onto the tunnels and the pipes of Germany. And that is somehow attracting a group to the tunnels where they read these Bible passages off of two of those books that Roy had at the beginning. They're very meaningful artifacts. But one day, there's like a secret police guy, an army guy, who actually catches and shoots at them, hits Hannah in the arm, and they would be dead if it weren't for this blonde-haired, blue-eyed, slightly southern accented gentleman showing up to elbow him in the neck. And then once they bring Hannah and him back to get patched up, they realize he's not a threat. He starts talking about how he doesn't even want to be wearing that army police uniform. He's actually already revolted, and he just forgot to take the uniform off until he was kidnapped by them. No, but seriously, he's wearing a crucifix, and they're like, do you also believe in Jesus? And he's like, yes. And I'm literally so tired of how I can't believe in Jesus, like, out of the closet. I can't imagine any human on American soil who's ever had to hide themselves the way I have as a white Christian. It's like, okay, let's take a few steps back and maybe just learn to cook some meals at home today. But the brother and sister say, yes, you can live with us. Please my sister and procreate. No! Didn't mean to say it. I'm not a princess, this ain't a fairy tale. I cannot stop singing Taylor Swift ever since my sister got us tickets to see the Eras tour. It's very surprising to get tickets to this concert since Live Nation is a monopoly. They've exploded in size ever since their merger with Ticketmaster in 2010, and they were able to basically partner with all of the major stadium venues. Back in November, the public sales of Taylor Swift's tickets to her new tour were suddenly canceled because their website melted down. The general public basically after that could not attend this show. If Live Nation has control over the supply chain, that means they can charge whatever they want on the demand side. Also, there's self-preferencing on shopping sites like Amazon and Google Shopping, where the products that they produce or sell are naturally going to be at the very top of any of those search results. There's a reason they wanted our economy to always be anti-monopoly. You can't deny that Live Nation has a hold on the live music event industry, and frankly, things like this, where ticket prices go up while the experience actually degrades, they're just reasons why you can't trust a corporation to care about your ultimate goals, so don't trust them. Anyway, that's the kind of cold, dark, small home of the people struggling to survive in the wake of this issue. But then we go home to the spacious, sunny, warm-looking home, which is supposed to be like the state-of-the-art life sustaining shelters that the very wealthy people get to live in, which I'm like, not what it looks like. So this character obviously is still a little mysterious to the audience. Like, who is she? What does she stand for? Why did she just tenderly prepare the most unappetizing bowl of cereal I've ever seen on screen? I mean, I can figure it out if I use context clues. Judging by how her hair curl pattern looks in that close-up, she must either be a frail man or a young boy in the Orthodox Jewish community. But then why is her cereal preparation so unorthodox looking? I'm not being disrespectful. They said Christianity was gonna be outlawed by 2025. Don't you think that Judaism would be like the second best to a lot of people, despite like the fundamental differences in belief? And I already know there are people out there leaving comments trying to tell me that this is actually not cereal she's eating, but actually muesli, which is a Swiss granola type breakfast dish made from rolled oats that's also popular in Germany. Well, okay then, Miss Swiss Miss. Does that somehow excuse the extreme milk to muesli proportions that Heidi somehow has going on in her bowl right now? No. Over here, paddling through Milk Pond, splashing around her spoon in that lactose-free 1%. Shabbat shalom, blonde girl. They could easily have made this a film that ties together all walks of life, agnostic, spiritual, Christian, Jewish, whatever, Islamic. What I want to know is why they chose to only go with the most boring characters of Christianity who are barely challenged in any way. All of their living in the bunker moments seem quite cozy.
Anyway, like the second reason, which is like super horrible in my opinion, is that...
Did you hear that, Hannah? Hunter is also a persecuted Christian, and he also doesn't seem to know what the he's talking about. You two should sneak away so you can plop one of your boobs into his hand in the homemade church music room that you built with your brother. Damn, is this really how much life is gonna suck in just 2 years? Or is it just this particular country? Oh, I pray to thee, my cool new outlaw Christian God, who wears a cowboy hat and rides a motorcycle, I bet. Please only let it be the country of Germany that gets overrun with weirdos during this shutdown. And I don't wanna hear any complaints, Germany. The world is still grappling with the knowledge that people from your country perform some of the most unspeakably sick and inhumane experimentations on cereal a few scenes back. Drinking milk with just a spoon, it's like too much liquid for breakfast. I'm just kidding, Germany, I love you. And if dystopian Deutschland just means that people are like a little more cute and quirky with their secret fish drawings, that makes sense for you. I mean, you know that in America, under this timeline, we would be fighting for our lives. Dystopian America is gonna be like the secret police of policing gender at public restrooms. And then just like a bunch of newborn babies firing off AK-47s. Oh, and the only remaining food source would be a single Arby's in the middle of the Florida Panhandle. Exact location unknown, baby. Get your off bug spray and spritz it on. We're trash compared to Europe. That's the truth. Oh God, I'm sorry, Hunter. I totally forgot that you were trying really hard to say something. Like, you kept trying. And despite that, it's still really painful to listen to. Please, continue.
My leadership actually came down and they were going to make me, make all of us actually recite like the new Constitution and like say it out loud.
Reciting it and saying it out loud mean the same exact thing, G.I. Doughboy. Did you get kicked out of the military because you refused to read out the new Constitution on principle? Or was that just the day that they realized you didn't know how to read? That poor kid. He didn't stand a chance from the day they switched over the public school system from No Child Left Behind to Yes Child, Leave Him Behind with the Wolves, which is how I was raised. I was born in a large clearing. I'm obsessed with the way that they cannot get their sentences straight. They're like, they told me, actually not me, but everybody in the room with me that day. It's like, that's not how people remember things and tell a story.
The more and more they're listening, like it's just hopeless. I don't think there's anything I can do anymore, you know?
Yeah, no, sweetheart, we agree. You're clearly trying your very best. It's not your fault that the country stopped accepting Jesus as their Lord and Savior. I bet that the country is also surprised to learn that acceptance was seemingly the only thing that got you through high school with a passing GPA. He do, I do, we do, my do. Let's call the whole thing off. That's how he sounds talking. Anyway, this Hannah and Hunter, and I guess he's like a coded military veteran who's over there. He also knows the guitar, and I don't know if you know, but if you can strum an acoustic guitar, you can flick, flick, flick on my clitoris 6 times in a row. That's the statistics from a guitar to my Anyway, there's young love in the air. You can tell from how much I'm talking about it. Now we go over to a hacker, and honestly, there's like computer music playing, so I get pretty scared. Oh, this is after Hannah and Roy and Hunter, now as part of their trio, go out spraying fish on things. Just like they did when she got caught and almost killed before. But they do it the exact same way. Just walking around in the open, which to me, I'm like, if you wanted to show that they had to be careful of where they stepped because they would be killed on the spot, then wouldn't they be like figuring out how to crawl through those tunnels that are meant for drainage, getting all wet? That wouldn't cost too much extra money. You dig a hole for a pipe. I would do it myself if I were the director and had that idea. They also sing gospel songs while in the hallway, so that was trippy. They're trying to give the impression that they have this natural, casual friendship, and I think that's why the director allowed, especially the Hunter guy, to improvise more than necessary, because he's walking with them in the winter being like, I have a joke for you. What did Corona do to Jesus? And they're like, what? And he's like, nothing. And then he's like, what's a fish with no eyes? Shh. And it's like, you need to actually go get that virus real quick, because I cannot put up with this. So they're being friends, spraying fish on things as a symbol of being able to pray together with other Christians. I think they show them with like a few singular people who it works upon. But then we go into a whole 2-minute sequence of a hacker with a very cute little stuffed animal looking at Google search results, researching Jesus fish tattoo designs, and highlighting portions of a Wikipedia page. National security. When there's a knock in the middle of the night, Roy instantly accuses Hunter of selling them out, but this doesn't become a recurring thing. I would have loved if they could have brought that distrust in earlier and lasted it longer, because Roy is disproven. He never apologizes for the mistake, which could have been a moment. Instead, they just open the door, and it's like, thankfully, not the secret police. Like, they just opened the door to whoever.
Who are you?
I am what you might call a hacker. As I said, I want to help.
And why should we trust you? Maybe you're the sergeant's best friend.
Yeah, are you wearing a mic?
Hunter, are you wearing a mic? We can barely hear you over there, buddy. We can't hear you. It doesn't rise over that incredibly casual tone of voice and even more casual body language. Is it really these three who are in charge of leading the planetary rise of Christianity? Okay. I'm not even a murderous dictator, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna run over them with a tank in the square just because they look like nothing to me. I also didn't see them there because while driving the tank, I was texting this guy Chad, who I'm going out with. He invited me to a mask-on makeout party, which is something all of the teenagers of 2024 are getting into. Honestly, this bleak future is starting to look a little lighter. That party, nobody's gonna know about my cold sores. So this was what, Holly, who joins them as the hacker. She hacked into their secret brain plans that were always in books. And she's like, okay, the government watches everything we do on the internet, but not me because I'm Molly the hacker. She's like, I'm gonna get DVD copies of the Bible and whatever you need to print out, so it's like not online, and we'll distribute those at your Sunday services. There's also something weird going on with the the daughter of the sergeant who's running all of this. Some other American guy who looks like the dad from Lizzie McGuire. And the assistant is also weird, but that's not for us to know about. We got Roy, who just inadvertently stepped into the position of charismatic leader for this cult.
The children of our children, they may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom. We are humans, created in the image of God.
Well, the Bible did say that the meek shall inherit the earth, but I don't think any of us expected that to literally mean the meek, dweeby-ass nice guy standing on an abandoned train car while quoting Braveheart to a crowd of zero. He truly works in mysterious ways. I'm talking about the director of this movie, of course, who worked on it by showing up to the first day of shooting and then immediately dying of a heart attack, so all of the cast had to sort of fend for themselves. Also, was that a black flash frame in the middle of this emotionally climactic speech? I guess that's what we get for handing this editing job for a feature film over to the 12-year-old altar boy with iMovie installed on his iMac. Not a bad deal. The data night filter they use on the train thing is ruining the set piece to me. The fact that his recording of it is so soft-spoken, it's like he was not trying to give us, this is my turning point where I go from being a normal, oppressed citizen hiding to an outspoken man of God who's a priest, or whatever, a fake priest. But he's very deadpan with it. Maybe soft and sweet in his voice, but it's like, this is not a f***ing Barry Manilow album, sis. You gotta shout at me and make my dick get hard with Jesus. You know, German. Through that montage, we're supposed to understand that the crowd sizes are growing. His following of secret Christians is popping up everywhere, that they have a randomly timed and placed ceremony so that the secret police can't catch them. Although some people are worshiping privately and they are being caught. This kid comes in to the room where Roy keeps his acoustic guitar and is like, I was praying with my 3 friends and my sister and my mom, and the police came in, took my sister and my mom and 2 of the friends, but left us, and I don't know why.
They came in and arrested my sister, my mom. There's nothing I can do. So first of all, your mom and your sister and those that got arrested, they're gonna go to heaven and they're gonna have a way better life than we do here on earth.
So just some live feedback. I know you just sort of fell into this New World priesty type position, but are you also a stranger just to the general concept of comforting another human being? He said, listen, your sister and mother are in jail, and soon they will be tortured to death, and then they will be thrown into a mass grave with other naked bodies. And I'm not even going to try to help them, because guess what? They're the real winners of this situation. This interminable parade of misery in which you remain stuck. Cool, so like, I'm actually starting to see why maybe this religion is shutting the down. I don't know why this kid even comes into the movie. That's what makes me so mad. I suppose he probably joins the background as like a pair of hands that we see helping, as though it's like you're gathering the minor characters in something like Ocean's 12 with Rihanna, or I don't know, a movie that I actually saw. Then you know what I mean. They're like, later they're like, I hacked in and I roller skated up to the drive-thru window because that's my specialty. It's like, okay, cool, kid. But what if they made it so like all of a sudden, this is a big deal. This kid didn't just get scared of being kidnapped. His family and his friends got kidnapped. And why did they leave him behind? To tell the story, I assume. But that should be something that the, gospel-y Christians explore. It should be their main conflict, like going to rescue this kid's mom and sister. But he's literally like, oh, they're gonna die, but it's okay, they're reaching their goal, we all die. And he's like, okay, thank you, and they hug, and that's it. That's not a real good storyline to me. See how this is not giving us the scenes that are important? I feel like that's the main thing I keep thinking about low budget movies. They land on the least visually stunning or climactic or cinematic scenes to be like, this random group of worshipers in a backyard get arrested, and they encourage Roy to run away because Christianity needs him. And they do sort of point their guns at these illegal Christians as though they're going to be executed. It's pretty much assumed anyone who gets arrested is killed.
I know a couple of people who see him as a villain. I know a couple of people who see him as a hero.
Oh, I love this worship song. Jesus' love keeps bubbling over. When I was in 3rd grade, I thought that I was gay because my uncle was. I loved to draw and I kept my room straight. I love that for him. He's the ally we all don't need that much. But at this point, it's like, sweet Lord, that was a second brunette gentleman that I just saw, and then a guy with tight cargo pants walked onto the scene. I'm like not able to remember anybody's position or name or title or character in this anymore. I'm distracted by the blue light. And this girl, who's like the murderous young daughter of the sergeant, is giving advice to her dad, who's like, we gotta figure out what to do.
We have to keep the people obedient. The people have to swear every day unto the Constitution. So they have to say that there is nothing better and glorious than our state.
Let's work out a plan. I think this will work.
Hopefully it works better than your air filtration system, because this room looks hazier than my understanding of the events leading up to World War II, despite the confidence with which I speak. Or is that all just to obscure the visible lighting equipment in the background and distract us from how the 20-year-old in platform heels is standing like a 20-year-old in platform heels? Even though she's the murderous daughter of this inexplicably American government official slash father slash sergeant, there's this scene where the hacker girl becomes converted to Christianity by Hannah. Because like you need a godly woman to show you into the godly red room of getting whipped by God. He whips me right in the eyeball. I've had several reparative surgeries. It's not funny. Imagine if God punched you right in the face. You would be like, I guess I have to say thank you. It's like your love is bubbling over. I guess I loved it. Maybe that's what happens when you get a new IQ point. You're getting punched in the head by God. Oh, Luke, the traitor from earlier, shows up at their door. Again, they're like all of a sudden like, there's a knock at the door. Are we caught? Are we doomed? I don't know, let me open it fully wide and see. And it's Luke who left at the beginning scene, who I frankly, because of this other kid who came in, I was like, he's gonna be in and out. But no, Luke is doing great, except he's like, I need you all to quit what you're doing. And they're like, we can't, I'm sorry, you need to leave. And it's like, why would he be there to tell you that for anything other than traitorous purposes? You know they can like threaten him with his life. But for now, we're like, whatever, Luke left. He's never gonna say He just wanted personally for us to stop doing this so that we wouldn't get caught. And then the girl with the Heidi curls, or Liesel's dad from Fiddler on the Roof, they're walking outside with Roy. And Roy's got a corn husk of a tale to tell.
I found love.
I feel the same.
Every breath you take.
I thought he was gonna just go and peel off one of her false eyelashes right there. I would have loved that. He would have been like, you don't need to worry now. I will protect you from these face spiders. Okay, again, well, good luck with rescuing Christianity. Everybody, your existence is in this guy's hands now, and he's doing illegal stuff, so have fun with that Velveeta packet. But no, they have a long song montage. Like all cheap movies, they just go into these long, they're like, what if we just have a song with lyrics so we can just shoot a wide shot of them walking down a alleyway for 2 minutes, and we'll hear like, the earth-shattering love is singing around me. And you're like, what? That, okay, who wrote that? Whose voice is that? Nobody. Heidi Curls actually gets caught trying to steal a document from work, as we've seen her do before, by murderous daughter of the sergeant. And she's like way self-aware. She's like, I actually never wanted to be a murderous daughter. I just killed, but I did it for my pantsuit to please dad. I won't tell on you for doing this thing. And she's like, well, if you ever want to come over to our side, I've got a secret for you. I'm like, I don't know, girl, that's a lot of info you just gave literally the one person you're supposed to keep the info from. Even if she says she loves you, like if she didn't go with you right that day and shove a crucifix up her like Reagan from The Exorcist, you need to not trust. But she does, because she's Heidi. Anyway, the sergeant gets a tap on his shoulder. They're like, someone's here to see you. Of course it's Luke, our double crosser, Judas, if you will.
If you give me something in reverse, I got some information for you.
I'm listening.
I want immunity.
I can grant it.
Nice.
So, like, did you really think they were gonna say no? Because you just waltzed into that heavily armed facility and straight into the arms of the sergeant who's killing everybody, just hoping for the best, that they would be like, oh yeah, tell us what you know and we'll give you a big hug and a hot fudge sundae. That's a building full of torture chambers. Anyway, he's like, these rebels are spreading your message with something called the internet, which I know is new to you because your whole job is handing confidential hard copies of forms and documents and file folders to each other. Sure enough, that's all we ever see them do, is exchange confidential paper documents. Easy to hack, easy to burn down, easy to rob. Wouldn't make it a day in 2023, so I don't know what 2025 is trying to tell us. Anyway, we go back to one of those outdoor worship sessions where the Christians see the lights of the police jeeps that aren't police related in the distance, and they're like, you've got to run, gentlemen. So he really does like narrowly escape death several times, and he realizes he's important to this movement, and he even holds a live stream where people from all over the globe and planet come and join them for a literal 10-second prayer. And then afterwards, he's like, do you see how many people there are? It's like, is this a Zoom meeting with 7 billion people from every time zone on the call? Like, where is your broadband coming from? Why do the secret police in 2025 have more rudimentary technology than like the Dunkin' Donuts has if someone drives away without paying? Anyway, we have a huge chase sequence. Everybody's getting chased down. The girls run through the security police building to help like steal files or erase information, while Roy is escaping into the woods to like run away forever, basically. But he does get caught by evil, cruel daughter of the sergeant. And his whole life is flashing before his eyes, his potential future with Esmeralda, the lady, probably her kids or something stupid. Roy's like picturing like proposing to her, the life that his sister will have. Very touching, except it's not. It happens so fast that I literally just had to like scroll through it to understand what these images were. They were like separate shots altogether, not from existing scenes. But as the daughter is like, say your last words, Esmeralda's brother. And that's the story of how the founder of modern day Christianity was shot in the head execution style after live streaming one religious service and before really getting a chance to make a big difference on this planet. Oh, also it's 2026 now, and this political hit job is sort of like our version of the night before Christmas, like you would have experienced back in 2023. Also, nowadays, all of the children work in sweatshops again, but they're building each other their own iPads and MP3 players for Christmas. Children building children things. That's right, we're the very first self-sustaining ecosystem. And that's why we're doomed to be eradicated off the planet by the time the ice caps melt. So, let me know, did you enjoy the filmmaking strategies of this film? I did not. I mean, there was good photography a lot of the time, for what they had especially. Like, I mean, they were creative enough with shining those, like, probably like this like filter that shows police sirens as the light instead of like an actual light source on camera, but it's very low budget to not be able to rent police vehicles or police lights. So I wonder why this director was not able to raise enough money for the movie. Could it have been the terrible script? Because those words, if they weren't being completely made up, were made to sound made up by the time they came out of people's mouths. But let me know what you thought, if you've seen this movie or if this was your first time delving into the anti-Christian Catholic world. But most importantly, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more clip breakdowns by me. Also hit that notification button and the bell icon so you can be notified each time I'm riding through the snow and killing an old lady because she prayed to Jesus Christ and we like COVID vaccines. That's a lot to say. Anyway, I also have merch available and a Patreon. You can access exclusive bonus episodes and virtual watch parties and lots of other cool benefits. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you so much for seeing the communism all over the place with me today. I will see you next time.